When you go into a good cocktail bar, you'll hear this, or barely this, or this. See this, or this. It can make a cocktail look like this, or like this. Ice is at the center of almost every cocktail, but its shape really matters. There's a very good reason why we use one shape of ice for one drink and another for a different one. We're going to take a deep dive into ice, including my favorite cocktail topic, clear ice. How to make it, cut it, and use it. It's not hard to do, and the science behind it is surprisingly interesting. Ice turns a bunch of liquids into an actual cocktail. Ice is to cocktails what heat is to cooking. Just like you wouldn't serve raw chicken, you wouldn't serve a warm martini. Ice in agitation is where the transformation happens. Ice adds enough water to a drink so it's balanced. It chills it, and if you're shaking a cocktail, it adds aeration and texture to the drink. Ice is frozen water, but its shape determines how it acts. Each of these samples is 5.5 ounces of ice. These 3 martinis are identical, except for the size and shape of the ice I used when I made them. Let's see the results. Wow. The crushed ice gave us by far the greatest volume of final drink because it melted the most, and that's because it had the greatest surface area. In fact, the surface area of the crushed ice is more than 4 times greater than the 2-inch cubes, and that determines how it's used. The extra surface area allows for a more rapid heat transfer. Crushed ice chills and dilutes way more quickly than the big cube, which is why our crushed ice martini is so much bigger. Bartenders will use this to their advantage. Some drinks are meant to be drunk long and well watered down, and the ice you use really allows for that. You can make crushed ice in a food processor. The traditional way was to use a canvas Lewis bag and mallet. But you can replicate it with just a rolling pin, a Ziploc bag, and a heavy dish towel. Add cubed ice to the bag, wrap it in the towel, and smash it with the rolling pin. You can get the ice to a really nice consistency, and then you can store it in the freezer in the Ziploc bag. The cutting board I'm working on is made by Teak House, the sponsor of this series. It's made from sustainably harvested teak. Now, if you've ever cut on hard surfaces, you know that the impact of the knife on that surface can make cutting a little jarring. The thing that makes teak special is that it's soft enough to be a pleasure to use, but hard enough to withstand damage. I'm going to use the crushed ice to make a jungle bird. Fill a highball glass halfway with that crushed ice. Then we're going to add pineapple juice, aged rum, Campari, lime juice, and simple syrup. This is a swizzle stick. It's actually a branch from the swizzle stick tree, which is native to many of the Caribbean islands. You can also just use a bar spoon in the same way. Insert the swizzle stick, prong side down into the glass, and use a rapid back and forth motion to swizzle, slowly moving up and down. It froths it and quickly chills it. Using the crushed ice with all that surface area means I just have to swizzle for 10 seconds, then top with more ice, and garnish. Such a great drink. It's a little sweet, it's a little bitter, it's refreshing, fruity and complex. But this is a drink that's designed to change as you drink it. It starts off quite intense and strong and soon gets watered down. Then it becomes more refreshing. At the other end of the spectrum are big blocks of clear ice. But here's the thing, when you take ice out of an ice cube tray, it's never clear. The edges are clear, but then there's a haze right in the middle. That outer bit is an orderly ice crystal lattice. But then as the water freezes, impurities in the water, minerals like calcium, magnesium and fluoride, get pushed out of solution, and irregular tiny little crystals form and ruin your perfectly clear ice. So what if you use distilled water, which doesn't have those impurities? Well, there's actually dissolved air in room temperature water, and as the ice forms, tiny bubbles get pushed out of solution and the little ice crystals start forming off those bubbles, making it cloudy. That's the problem about freezing water. It generally freezes from the outside in, pushing all the impurities to the centre, where ice crystals can nucleate and turn it cloudy. This conundrum was solved by cocktail expert Camper English, and he came up with a ludicrously simple solution. A drinks cooler. Take the top off a regular drinks cooler. Now that it's open, what's inside will be insulated on 5 sides and can freeze top down. This technique is called directional freezing. Fill it with hot water. There's less dissolved air in hot water than in cold. Freeze it for 36 to 48 hours, just until the top 2 inches are solid. Depending on your freezer and the amount of water you use and its temperature, it'll take a different amount of time. Let it sit for an hour so the ice will be easier to take out, and then invert it over a bucket or the sink. This always gives me such a thrill. I mean, it's just amazing to think that we made this. Because the cooler is insulated on all sides, except for the top, it froze from the top down, pushing all the impurities and dissolved air in the water to the bottom, where it sits unfrozen, leaving us with one big, perfectly clear ice crystal. The first large-scale, commercially available ice was created exactly this way, but by nature itself. In the early 19th century, they started harvesting ice from the lakes around Boston, Massachusetts. And a lake in winter acts very much like this drinks cooler. It freezes from the top down as it's exposed to the cold air of winter, while the sides and bottom are relatively well insulated. At the same time, any dissolved impurities are pushed down and remain unfrozen, allowing lake water to be converted into clean, unadulterated ice. Now comes the fun part, turning this block into perfect cocktail cubes. And just like the old days, we're gonna hand cut this. First, I'll trim the excess to get a clean 2-inch thick slab. A large serrated kitchen knife does the job really well. To make 2-inch cubes, I'm positioning the knife 2 inches from the edge and using a sawing motion to create a 1/4 inch deep groove all the way around the block. Score all the way around, top, bottom and both sides. This groove is going to guide the break. Lay the knife in that groove and give it a firm tap with a meat pounder. You're not trying to chop through it, you're letting the ice split along that scored line. There are little micro fissures coming off that groove that will meet each other and give you this clean break. Repeat the process on the brick. Score 2 inches in, strike, and you get perfectly imperfect individual cubes. You can store the blocks in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. After about 10 minutes, they might start to freeze together. Just separate them, and then they'll freeze cleanly. The classic use of a big cube is for a cocktail that's supposed to be sipped over a long time. As it has a lower surface area, it'll melt slowly, so it will take longer for it to be watered down. So this is a slight tweak on an old-fashioned. It's called an Irish Godfather. Before I start making it, I've pulled my ice from the freezer, because if I pour my cocktail over it when it's too cold, it'll undergo thermal shock and crack the cube. I'll start with 2 ounces of Irish whiskey, and then it's 1/2 ounce of amaretto, and then 1/8 teaspoon of citrus bitters. Then we're going to fill the glass with ice and stir for 30 seconds. This is where we can really imagine what's going on with the ice. As we stir it, the cold ice comes into contact with the warmer liquid. It starts to melt, diluting and chilling the drink. The longer we stir it, the more dilute and colder it becomes. While developing cocktails for Cocktails Illustrated, we found that most stirred drinks benefit from a good 60-second stir. But if you're serving it over ice, you'll want to reduce that time to 30 seconds. I'll garnish with an orange coin. Just slice off a circle of peel and then pinch it over your cocktail to add the fragrant oils. As you start, the drink is pretty stiff. The alcohol is present, but as it sits, the ice will slowly melt, making it smoother and the whole drink more integrated. Watch my martini and daiquiri episodes for more details on shaking and stirring with ice. We really nerd out on optimal dilution levels. So remember, ice isn't just about ginning your drinks. It's about complementing the style of your particular drink and elevating the entire experience. If you like this episode, you will love our new book, Cocktails Illustrated. It's packed with hundreds of recipes, cocktail science, and explanations like these. Cheers.